Hi, my name is Michelle Morrow, and I'm a case manager at the Kent County Friend of the Court. I hope I can teach you some things that will help you during your involvement with our office. My objective here is to give you some information on how child support works. First up, child support calculations. All Michigan courts use the Michigan Child Support Formula. This formula provides guidelines to establish child support charges. The formula is based on both the needs of the children and the resources of their parents. The Michigan Child Support Formula takes into consideration the net income of both parents and then adjusts for factors such as other support orders, other biological or adopted children, and mandatory employment expenses. The formula also makes adjustments for special circumstances like split custody or the number of overnights a child spends with each parent. Typically, though, the number of overnights only impacts the support amount if a non-custodial parent has the child for more than 90 overnights a year. Sometimes, if a parent has no income, the formula does allow the friend of the court to use potential income for that parent. This basically means that parent has the ability to earn a certain income, but for whatever reason, does not. Child support is usually broken down into categories. The first is the actual child support. This is paid to the custodial parent unless the child receives cash assistance from the state. In that case, the custodial parent receives cash assistance for the child, and the non-custodial parent pays child support to the state to help reimburse the state for a portion of the cash assistance their child receives. The second category is ordinary medical support. This also goes to the custodial parent unless the child receives Medicaid. If the child receives Medicaid, the ordinary medical support the non-custodial parent pays goes to the state to reimburse a portion of the Medicaid that their child receives. Sometimes there is also a child care charge. When either parent has work or education-related child care expenses, the formula splits those expenses between the parents proportionately according to their incomes. Now we will move on to medical insurance and medical expenses. It's always important to know what your court order says specifically. Usually court orders require both parents to maintain medical insurance for the children if it's available to them at a reasonable cost through their employer. When dealing with medical expenses, these are divided into two categories, ordinary and extraordinary. Both parents must contribute to a child's ordinary expenses, medical expenses. The support payer's portion is covered in the ordinary medical charge they pay each month. Any of the child's out-of-pocket medical expenses that exceed the court's estimation of annual ordinary expenses will be divided between the parents according to their court order. If a problem occurs in the payment or reimbursement of extraordinary expenses, we do have a process set up to help assist with the collection. This process starts by submitting a request for medical reimbursement. Moving on to enforcement of child support payments. Our goal is to work with parents so that consistent payments are received and no enforcement action is necessary. But sometimes enforcement becomes necessary, and we do have various tools that we can use to enforce child support orders. The most common is an income withholding order. This is where we send an order to an employer, they deduct the designated amount from the payer's paycheck, and forward that payment into MISDU. MISDU, or MISDU, is the Michigan Centralized Distribution Unit in Lansing, where support payments in the state of Michigan are received and dispersed. In addition to income withholding orders, we are able to intercept taxes when a payer has a certain arrearage balance, has filed their taxes, and is owed a return, and has not defaulted on a government student loan. We can also schedule what is called an order to show cause. This is a contempt hearing in which a payer may be required to explain to the judge why they have not been complying with their court order. Failure to appear at this hearing may result in license suspension and/or a bench warrant. When a license is suspended, this includes all licenses, occupational, hunting, fishing, and driving. When at an order to show cause, a judge can find a payer in contempt of court for two reasons: failure to pay out of available resources, which means the payer has had income but has not paid child support from that income. This is often used when a payer does not report employment or when a payer works for cash. The other reason is failure to exercise due diligence. This basically means that a payer has not been keeping in contact with a friend of the court and they are unable to show that they have diligently been looking for work. When a person has an arrearage balance or overdue balance of 2 months' worth of support, they are automatically reported to the credit bureau. If a person is $2,500 behind, they cannot get a passport. We can also seize assets, including bank accounts and automobiles, provided their value outweighs the costs. Most of these tools are used as deterrents, and as long as the person follows their court order and keeps us informed, they probably will never have to worry about enforcement. The last section I would like you to understand is modification of your child support order. The friend of the court must charge child support according to the last court order. If circumstances arise where that order needs to be changed for any reason, there are a few options available. You may submit a written request for a support review once every 3 years, or at any time if there is a proven change in circumstances. This change may be a change in income or even a change in the daycare costs. However, support cannot be reviewed if the only change in the circumstances is the number of overnights a child spends with that parent. Very important, if both parents agree to change the support order, they may submit a notarized written request or a written request with a copy of both driver's licenses outlining their agreement. Under certain circumstances, we may be able to write an order for them with the new provisions that they have agreed to. The other way to have the support reviewed requires direct-to-court action. A person can file an in pro per motion to change child support with the circuit court or hire an attorney to file the motion for them. Maybe you already know all of this, or maybe you just want to know how to make your payments. If payments are not coming out of your check, you can make cash payments at the window at the front of the court, or you can send a check or money order to MISDU by mail, or make a payment online at the MISDU website. Hopefully, I've given you a clear and informative overview of child support and maybe even answered some of your questions. Thank you so much for your attention.